I want to talk about the mid-year review that you should be doing with your fundraising. Now, why is a mid-year review really, really important? Well, you're halfway through the year, and whether or not you know it or have looked at it, you're either on target with your funding, you're behind target, or you're ahead of target. And a review is simply a great way of just making sure that, if you are ahead of target, you don't lag behind, because it's very easy to just say, hey, everything is pretty cool, I'm fine. If you're on target, that's great, but also you want to know, well, why did I hit my target, and how can I make sure that I stay on track for the next 6 months? And if you're behind, now is not a time to stress. That's why we're doing this, and I'm just going to walk you through how you can pick back up. So whether you are ahead, behind, forward, whatever, this is really going to help you. This is exactly what I do. I'm going to walk you through really 4 checks that I do. So 4 things that I'm going to do. I'm just going to walk you through exactly what I do with my review. So the first thing I do is I make sure that, number 1, my community. The community, is it growing? That's the big question. So you want to review your community, whether it's the contacts you have, the emails, social following, website visitors. You want all that stuff to be growing. I usually aim for every month 2%. That's it. All you got to make sure is you're getting 2% more contacts every month. Yeah? That is the first thing that I do in my review. You got to make sure of that. The second thing that I do is share my story. How often are you sharing your story? This also is a great indicator, and what I go for is I go for weekly. So just review, are you sharing your story every week? And if it's not every week, are you doing at least once every 2 weeks? If you're doing anything less than a week or 2 weeks, you need to really beef it up. And the reason I say this is if people don't know what you're doing and how you're changing lives, it's extremely difficult, number 1, to ask them to donate because they don't really know who you are. And 2, it's very, very difficult for them to say, well, why should I donate to you? That's the question. Catholics want to donate to you. They just need to know what you're doing. So you want to make sure that you're sharing your story every week or every 2 weeks. Yeah? Now, the third thing that you want to do in your 6-month assessment is you want to check, number 3, are you asking? I'm going to put it here. Are you asking? Now, if you believe that, hey, I'm just going to let people donate as things come, well, that's fine. Go that way. But if you have a target, if you're saying I need to raise X amount, and you're also operating at, well, if it comes, it comes, those don't work. Yes, people will donate every now and again, and you might get a very large donation, but don't try and think that your request, your target is going to be achieved just by things haphazardly happening. If you have a target, that means you need to be asking people. And in order to ask, you need to track how often you're asking people. Don't say, well, I'm not going to ask this week, or I'm going to wait until this week. I'm a big believer, and I say this because Mother Teresa said it, and what did she say? She said, if we're doing God's work, we have to assume, we have to be convinced that God is going to be providing the necessary resources. So if you are in the world of fundraising, it's more than likely because you know that you can do more with more funds. So that means you've got to be asking, and you just got to track how many times, the number of times you're asking. And you've also got to be looking. If it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, God is providing. So you just got to pay attention to the people that God is putting in your life, and you got to be tracking, are you asking them? The best asks are one-to-one. I'm not a big fan of events. I don't like them. If you click down below, There'll be a link to different articles on why events are not good, especially not good for Catholics, why other Catholic priests, why Catholic priests are not using events for their fundraising. I walk you through exactly why it's not Catholic, it doesn't work, and why you shouldn't do it, yeah? And then the fourth check that you should be doing is donors. I gotta make sure that I'm spelling donors correctly. You always have to track how many new donors am I getting. And what you really want is you want anywhere from 3% to 10% of your total community. So that's the name, the contacts that you have, the names, etc. If you've got, let's say for example, if you've got 100 contacts, your goal should be 3 to 10 people should be donating to you. If you're below it, it's probably because you're not asking. And if you're above it, that's fantastic. You want to be anywhere between 3 and 10% consistently. So as a mid-year, if you're below it, it's probably because you're not asking. If you are here in the middle, but you're not hitting your target, you're probably not asking correctly. And if you're here already, for the next 6 months, you want to make sure that you have more people. Steps 1 and step 2, you want to keep sharing and you want to keep building your contacts. So that is my recommendation for a mid-year review with your fundraising. God bless you and keep up the great work. If you enjoyed this video on fundraising, make sure to subscribe. Right over there, it's going to be somewhere. Also, if you just enjoyed the scenic views of Catholicism in France, make sure to subscribe as well. And just follow me along on learning how to fundraise and seeing the beauty of Catholicism in the south of France. Cheers. Santé.